Hello and good morning. I am here with Brett White. It is January 25th, 2023, and yesterday we had Brett via Zoom, so I thought it'd be fun to bring him in today to actually meet with us in person. This is the first time we've actually had somebody here at the office. We typically do everything through through Zoom and through remote stuff, but I thought it'd be fun to have Brett in here with us today. Brett, tell us a little bit now. You just got back from your UC class, is that right?
That's correct.
Tell us just a little bit about what you teach at UC.
This semester, I'm actually teaching mobile app development. I'm going to be teaching first half of the class in Android development, and the second half of the class in iOS development in Swift.
So now, what are you getting people right out of high school, or have they already had some college, or is it a mix?
This class is mostly a 300 level class, and it's mostly harbored by juniors and seniors. I only have one sophomore in my class, and man, he's a smart cookie. I
So,
like it.
so I'm sure you run into quite a bit. With software development, you always run into there are those superstars, right? And as opposed to you're kind of there seems to be, it's kind of like in sports, you run into the same thing. There's people that, like me, that aren't any good at all, and then there's people that are pretty good, but then there's like this whole another level of these people that can like really just like invent new things. Is that what you run into?
Absolutely. That was one of the things that I saw in my last course that I taught last semester, which was embedded systems. I taught I taught a lot of really good I taught a lot of really good students in the embedded systems class. I've had one of my students made a basketball counter. It made so that they can retrofit it to like an arcade, to make it look like one of those arcade basketball machines. So it
Okay.
counts shots, and then it does it at a time limit, and then it switches to player two. Had one that 3D printed and used extrusion to make a robot arm.
Okay. And so now, but this isn't your software development at
This
this
was
is
my last semester's class, which is embedded systems, which is a fall exclusive class.
okay. That sounds pretty cool. I like him, but I do think that does feel like with all the stuff that you see nowadays, it does feel a lot more like I was telling you yesterday when I was kind of coming up in computers, it was more of a hobby. It was always like new things were coming. There were new like PCI cards and
Mhm.
ISA cards, and like all the time there's some new widget coming out that did different things, and you could always experiment. It feels kind of like that's what's going on right now with IoT. What do you think?
Absolutely. Best part is that UC gave me the green light to do a special IoT course this coming fall.
Okay, very cool. What's that? So, do you have an idea of what your curriculum is going to be on that?
Well, it's kind of going to be based along the lines of the embedded systems class, where the embedded systems class is mostly a hardware class, but
Sure.
the IoT class is going to have a mix of hardware and software, so that you can have it all communicate with each other. And I wanted to make it challenging so that you have to write a piece of code to make these LEDs that I built light up, but only your LED.
Now, how much of this is specialized programming versus using some available frameworks?
Most of this I teach in Python. It's a lot easier to teach hardware in Python for even new people and even beginners. It's a lot easier to get started, especially since these courses generally teach the hardware of it, not necessarily the software. The students are used to doing it in Java, so
Okay.
so Java, you can do it in hardware development, no problem at all. It's just I wanted it to be strictly a hardware class, but there has to be some coding involved, and I didn't want it to be a framework. And plus, it also sharpens their skills as a coder to learn different languages based on what they're going up against. Because Python's a very versatile language.
Yeah, yeah. Python's used a ton, but is Java still? Java used to be very dominant in the IoT space, and I mean in embedded system spaces in general. Is it still pretty dominant?
It is, although I do not like coding in Java.
Most people don't. Well, that was the thing that I always thought was funny. Everyone seems to hate Java, but they use Java
In
anyways.
fact, in fact, in Android development, it used to be the very common language to code, but Google changed the official language, I think, in 2018 to be Kotlin, which is interoperable with Java. So if you're comfortable using Java libraries and commands, they will work together. But Kotlin is more syntactically like Python, so it's a lot easier to read and a lot easier to make.
Okay, and you had mentioned, speaking of mobile app development, you had mentioned Swift.
Yes.
Now, why are these? platform developers coming up with their own languages? Why? I always thought the whole purpose of when C was created, the idea was instead of having to do all of this assembly type work to just do one common language that was going to be C, and it would just compile for everything. And now we seem to be getting back into this world where there's all kinds of different languages for specialized devices and platforms.
Very good question. It's actually still like that today. Kotlin can be interopted back into Java or interop into iOS development. So if you feel comfortable with that, you could do that. But you could also do something called the Flutter framework using a language called Dart. That one specifically is made to make both iOS and Android apps at the same time with one language and one code base. For Swift, the reason I would teach in Swift is because the main methodology, the best one, you want to make the app exclusive to that platform with their specific features. iOS has special features that Android doesn't have, and vice versa. So having it in their native language, since Swift was developed with Apple in mind, and then Kotlin was developed for ease of use for Java, because Java, as you probably could tell, Java's main thing was write once, run anywhere. Even though it's right,
work.
it's write once, debug everywhere.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot closer. Yeah, for sure. And I know Microsoft did a big push for their, I can't remember,
C#.
Yeah, C#, but they had Xamarin. They made a big push for Xamarin a few years ago, but I haven't heard a whole lot of talk about Xamarin lately.
Not popular, especially since there's new languages that are currently gaining popularity because it also uses like the Erlang base back in the 80s, like for example Elixir. That's how Discord was able to get so many concurrent calls at the same time because Erlang was the language that used for all kinds of telecommunications.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Well, at least we're not using Fortran anymore. We'll get that going for us.
Don't tell me that. I'm glad that I didn't learn Fortran, even though the banking system still uses COBOL.
I do. I've talked to some old timers that's their kind of the little niche market is programming in COBOL because they learned it back in the 60s.
Yeah. Nowadays they should just probably switch it over to a more mainstream and better language, especially to Rust.
Yeah. There you go. Now, so that's great. What other kinds of software development outside of your training, your courses? Are there any other software development classes available over at UC?
At UC, we're currently testing it since the computer science department is still a relatively small department. It's still a new department, so we're trying to flesh out the computer science degree for bachelors. And me and the two main doctors on staff there we're trying to figure out what the best way to do it, the best way to build out the course to have a well-rounded graduate go into the workforce with whatever they need to. We've even been talking about me heading in an IT focused sector because IT is definitely in demand nowadays, especially with everything going with work from home, wireless, everything else like that. It's an important skill to have.
And I know UC is really big on cybersecurity as well.
Absolutely. So working together with the UC cybersecurity team, I think working together with them with the IT focus could really make some well-rounded and very sharp graduates coming out.
And with the expansion of IoT, it seems like cybersecurity is going to become more and more important.
Absolutely. The biggest things for IoT, you know what the most hacked things are in IoT?
Tell me.
Routers and printers. It's
really?
It's things that you don't think that would be.
I would have thought cameras.
You would have thought cameras. No, It's actually printers and routers. But
most people don't think of a printer as an IoT device, but it is. Modern printers are absolutely IoT devices.
And that's why one of the things that I always like to try and teach others, especially when I make like smart light bulbs or anything else like that, you want to try and have local code base instead of cloud code base, because if you have it, then if the internet's cut out, because let's be honest, there's a certain ISP that likes to cut people off in this area, you'll still get access to your devices if it's local, but you won't if they're cloud.
Right.
That's why Apple HomeKit was a perfect example of that. They work locally with a local API, and if the internet gets cut out, your stuff is still going to work. Yeah,
we've had more than one occasion where when internet goes out, Alexa does not turn the lights on and off for us.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted to. I'm right now testing a new one, which is an open source one called Mycroft AI.
Oh, that sounds cool.
So it's open source and it runs off of a Raspberry Pi.
Okay, now there's okay. I just heard about this. It's a platform. Is it called Mono or Mondo or something like that? That's supposed to be like an open source interconnect between HomeKit, Amazon, and Google Home, and it's supposed to be.
I haven't heard of that.
Oh, I'm gonna have to. It's probably. I'm sure I don't have the right name. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'll look it up and get it back with you.
Absolutely.
So as we're wrapping up here, tell me real quick, what do we have planned for later on this year? You had mentioned something about a Raspberry Jam. What in the world does Jelly have to do with IoT?
Man, I get that question so many times, and it's nuts. But no, the Raspberry Jam is an event that I hold every year. This is going to be my 5th year doing it.
Really, that's great.
It is revolving around a computer that is called the Raspberry Pi. It's a computer the size of a credit card. It's a perfect launch pad to get started into coding, electrical engineering, making little LEDs, IoT. It's perfect to get started. Even if you're not into the coding sphere too much, it's really good as a minimalist desktop. So it's useful for many use cases in the tech sphere, but also day-to-day lives if you want to get used to Debian Linux.
Okay, great. Yeah, and we will definitely be sharing some more information as we get. That's going to be in March.
March, yes,
Okay.
March 11th, 2023 at the.
And it's great for kids. I know I took my kids last year. They loved it. You did some Minecraft stuff, and my kids are young. They're 9 and 6, and they had a blast with it.
Absolutely. The event is on March 11th, 2023 at the Clay Tower building in University of Charleston. It's on the it'll be on the second floor. We will have event links here soon. I'll be able to send that over to you.
Great. We will be sharing all that stuff and trying to get people there. It was a lot of fun last year, and I think, introducing that kind of IoT stuff to the area, I think is very positive, because I really think that is going to be the future of information technology.
My whole goal is pretty simple. Bring technology to the forefront of Charleston. We could definitely become a new technological capital, but I just need to give it the kick in the pants it needs to go forward and bring it to the limelight, so that there's more creativity, more knowledge shared. That's the most important thing.
We're going to make Kanawha Valley just like the new Silicon Valley, right?
Absolutely. With a little bit of hometown flair.
All right, let's do it. All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and make sure you give Brett a hello, good job, thumbs up. Thanks for coming on with us, Brett. I really appreciate you coming in here live. Had a lot of fun.
Love being on.
All right. Until next time, I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care for now.